All right, everybody, welcome to tonight's main event. So there has been probably more than 40 hours, hesitate. Some folks were here till early in the morning on some of the nights, but it has not been without a lot of fun, a lot of food, and a lot of just sort of each of us kind of riffing off of each other, collaborating together, showing some cool demos, which you're all going to see. And I think everybody had something that they could work on that's going to be pretty cool for you all to enjoy. So it is very informal. It's not a formal developer summit, but nonetheless, we are going to show, and we're proud to show what we've been doing this week. It's truly a team effort, and it's all on one product, BigBlueButton. So for just those who are doing demos, just guidelines, 5 minutes, you know, and people have Q&A, like and answer a question or two. But we have 12 cool stuff. And of course, we always finish with the UI folks, which is like the closers. All right, so I'll let you guys know if it's going over too long, but you know, have fun, share what you're doing. You'll see a bit of like slides, a bit of screen share, the usual kind of transition. So first ones are up. Andre, Anton, Gabriel, and Ramon on the mobile. Oh yeah. So here, I'm going to make. I have to do this. Maybe Anton, I can make you as the moderator, and I will let you. Let's see. There we go. So Anton, I'm going to make you moderator. And Andre, I'll make you moderator, and that should cover off. And Tiago, I'll make you moderator. Okay, so
I just made myself.
Yes, you have the power. All right. So go ahead, André, and just show us what you guys have been doing on the mobile side.
Okay.
Oops.
Here we go. So this year, in this event, our main focus was to make the guys that rely on phones, teachers, moderators, and students have a better experience, as close as desktop as possible. So one of the things that we implemented that I'm most excited about is the general scroll for the user list area. Before, we had two scrolls, which could be kind of annoying if you are using your phone, like two little scrolls. Now everything is just one big scroll, and I hope that helps people navigate better in mobile. We also did some visual stuff, which is not so important as guaranteeing functionality, but it's good to have a consistency in visuals, more visual stuff, improvements. For example, this element was missing if you had too much stuff in your navbar. We also don't support custom layouts in mobile, but we used to show the custom layout, which could cause the user to think that he could actually use custom layout on mobile. Now we remove that so it doesn't get confused. Also, this is a good one. When your screen was too small, the webcams and the presentation used to compete for space, and you couldn't see nor the webcams nor the presentation. Now when it gets to a certain size, the webcams vanish and the presentation gets bigger, so you can focus and actually see what's the important thing. Also, thanks for watching, and special thanks to the testing team that was able to identify those bugs so we could fix them. And also Ramon, who's been helping the whole time and is from home. Thank you for watching.
Oh, so how many pull requests did you make?
Ooh, last time I counted, it was 12, but I think after that I made 5 or 4 more.
And how many got merged this week?
Almost all of them.
Nice. Tainan, I'll say a few words before you get ready. So one of the use cases is you are an instructor and you've got students in labs, they're working away, and it'd be really good to see all the screens at the same time. We only have one person who shares a screen right now, that's the presenter, so that was never possible in BigBlueButton.
Thank you for that. Normal camera. Well, this week I was working on the multiple screen share that allows teachers and students to share their screen. So, the main motivation was allow new engagement between the student and the teachers, like one-on-one calls, where both users could share their screens and have instantly feedback of which one is doing, like in an English class where a user could write a text and the professor seeing it and demonstrating the errors on the screen. Also allow teacher monitoring and other users, like they are doing something a 3D app like Blender, and the teacher want to monitoring the progress or show error on the model and could focus the user screen. That's the third topic. So if, for example, Fred's doing a great job on a model and we want to show it to another users, you can now focus this user. And that's it. But the screen's not advancing. Yeah, that's it. This is a demo about the multiple screen. This one is when we are using grid mode or has no presentation. So the webcams keep on top, and in the bottom we show the screens. The idea is make it a better interface, reducing the webcams and increasing the area for screens. And the next one, this one is the next one, where users, the teacher is focusing on one user screen, and so we can show it's a content for our users see this screen on the meeting. This one is per meeting, so all the users that in the meeting are seeing this screen as a presentation. And the next steps include implement meeting lock settings for multiple screen shares, because now if all users can see each other's screen sharing, but in the future maybe we want to just the moderators or the presenter be able to see these images. And also improve the multiple content exhibitions in presentation area. I think Bruno will talk a bit more about it. But now it's a bit confusing how multiple contents will be shown in the presentation, like 2 screens or 1 screen and 1 webcam. On technical improvements, we have to improve the grid display on the webcam area. So today, it's treated like a camera, and we maybe in the future treating 2 different lists, not just one. Make possible to share more than 1 screen per user. So if a user has 2 screens and he want to show both of them, he could be possible. And also improve server handler on screen share content to have a better handling on the client side. That's it.
You did some work to unify the handling of webcams and screen share.
Yeah, now both the screen share and the webcam, they are all flowing through the same channel, that the camera channel. We are working on renaming it for like user streams to not more differentiate it and make easier to move what we are seeing and where. That make it a lot easier, the implementation of the multiple screens. That's it.
So I will have to say too, Tainan, I've known you for 8 years now.
Yes.
English. Like, you guys are all speaking English here. That was really good. Good job. I'll bet you guys weren't expecting that we would improve the chat. So there's actually some pretty cool improvements that are coming.
At the moment, it's arriving. So I'll talk a little about what we was able to achieve this week, targeting to improve the chat and implementing features. So I worked pretty much on the backend portion, and João Victor was working. He did the hard work. It was in the front end. He's still finishing it. So about the motivations, I think it's pretty obvious, but the idea is provide my tools for the participants to engage with the meeting and stay involved in the discussions and everything, and they will be able to provide feedback easily. So there are a lot of benefits from this chat improvements. So I will talk just a little about the technical part. I worked on the backend portion, so I made some changes on the database. So one of the features is the reply. So that we have now, when a user send a message, it's possible to refer to another message to say, okay, I'm replying to this other message. So that's the idea. And we also implemented like a sequence for each message. So, for example, if I am replying an old message, I can click, and it's okay. This message was in the first page, so it can move the chat to the first page and show what is the original message, things like that. About the ability to edit and delete a message. Now a user can edit or delete, and the moderators can delete any message, and the users can edit or delete only their own messages. When somebody deletes a message, it's not physically removed in the database. Instead of that, we just remove the content, and we say, okay, this message was removed by this user, and it was removed at this time. So we can show in the chat that, okay, there was a message here, but it was deleted, so we don't lose the context. Other thing, when somebody edit or delete a message, we make a copy of the previous message, so we don't lose the previous content. So in the future, maybe it will be useful to see the history and say, okay, this message was deleted, but the moderator might want to see, okay, but what was the original content? It can be useful. So we will keep this previous version. And yeah, I think that's basically it about editing. About reactions, it's pretty simple. A user now can send some emoji to a message, and actually more than one, and they can also undo. Okay, no, I chose some reaction, but it was wrong. Then I can undo this. So yeah, it's really basic, like other platforms of chat. And yeah, technical part was it. So João is implementing the front end, so he will show a demo, right?
So now I will show you a quick preview of the new chat improvements. The first one is chat replies. So you can. So on message hover, you will be able to select the reply feature and send a feature for a specific message. So you'll be able to click to make the chat scroll to the specific message.
Manda várias. Let's send several messages here. Let me help with the demo. So yeah, that's one. That's...
Thank you, Tiago. So let's do another test. So
Monta uma bem de cima para tu mostrar o scroll. Né?
yes. So now when you click the message, the chat will scroll automatically to the specific message. The next feature is the edit. So you can edit a specific message. So let's say and save. So now you can see the last edited time. So and the next feature is delete a specific message. So you can select one that you want to delete and click to delete, and a placeholder message will show up to indicate that this message was deleted. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, that was really good. That was great. All right, so now we're going to dive deep into the plugins.
Hi. Hello, guys. So we will show you something we already spoke a little bit about. That is the new plugin manifest. So the idea before was that when you configure a plugin in BigBlueButton room, you would pass the JavaScript URL and the channels configurations on the settings YAML or the client setting override parameter of the create call. The problem with this approach was that if you, let's say the third-party application like Greenlight or Moodle wants to specify which plugins the room will use, it would be complicated for them because they would need to know details about the plugin, like the fact it uses a data channel or something like that. And this must be part of the plugin itself. So the idea of having a manifest file is that when you want to tell the room that it will have a plugin, you will just use the plugin manifest URL, and the server side, the ACA will make a request, the BBB web actually will make a request to this file, and we'll know that, okay, this room runs this plugin, and this plugin enabled these data sets. So in this way, the server will securely filter who can write and who cannot write to a data channel. So we discussed about the structure of this file, and Guilherme will show it to us. But the idea of having this manifest file is to centralize, to make one single place with the configurations and make it easier for the third-party applications to install a plugin into a room, let's say like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's basically this slide. Could you? Yeah, so that's the manifest structure. It's a JSON. We need the required SDK version. We need the name of the plugin. We need the JavaScript endpoint. But the main focus here, which was one of the motivations that we changed the structure that we load the plugin on the front, is the data channel right here. So the data channels being there, we have the control over the configuration that is going to load in the client, and it's not going to be missed out when we change something. So one other thing is this one right here. if we move on. Yeah, so now we can insert a meta parameter into the configuration that's going to be loaded in the backend and also in the front end. You can. Well, now we're going to have a demo.
Okay, go back just a little bit.
Okay.
Return one slide, please. Yeah, just to explore a little bit more about this parameter. You can add any metadata parameter into this in any place of this file, and it will be replaced. So the idea here is that the URL must be secret, so we don't expose this URL to the client. So basically, the server will replace this meta parameter, keep it in memory, use it, but never expose to the client. And the same for other configurations. It will replace the variables and use into the plugin. So
We're going to see these meta parameters and the URL for the manifest.json in the being set in the demonstration. Can you?
Sim. Tem que sair desse modo para linhas. Ele compartilhou sua aba. Não é nada.
André. Hi. Yeah, so here I'm going to set the parameters, the URL parameters, like here. So I first create a meeting. These parameters are going to be sent in the meeting. Then I'm going to enter the room with the Alice Smith, which is a mock data, just so we see. Here we can see that the plugin is already working with the new structure of the manifest being loaded and stuff like that. And here we can see the data channel being logged in the console. It's just a test, just for testing purpose. The data channel for now doesn't do anything, but we intend to put some feature on it for this specific plugin, the LMS user information. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the demo.
Really good, guys. Can I go back to the slide?
I think we can follow this presentation.
Oh, is it next one?
It's in the same order.
Ah, okay.
Eu não sei qual é a próxima. Vamos esperar nosso operador de audiovisual.
Next steps.
Não, plugin manifest. O next steps. Passa, termina essa. Vai. Já ganhou palmas, isso aí já foi. Mas para ir para a próxima apresentação, cara. Mais um, vai lá. Aê. Okay, so we're extending the plugin's server communication. Quando fizer assim, tu pode ir. So the motivation is that for some features, we want to call an external HTTPS endpoint to load information. And we want to make this call from BBB server, not directly from the browser. So this URL can be kept secure. It can be an authenticated URL, like a endpoint with JWT authentication header with some expiration time and things like that. So that's why it's BBB server that will do the request and not the plugin, the running in browser directly. So we defined that we will allow to call that the call can happen in two moments, on create and on demand. Basically, if you configure a data source URL with the mode on create, when you create a call, the plugin server makes this request and it stores the response in memory. So whenever a plugin requests this information, it will be sent to the plugin. This is useful for example, if you have a URL that expires like in 1 or 2 minutes. So basically you create the call, BBB consumes the data, and the URL will never be requested again. And the other possibility is to make it on demand. This is specified on the manifest file that Guilherme shown before. And whenever you use the on demand, the plugin will make the request. When the request arrives the plugin server, it will make the request to the third-party URL. So the on create is only when the meeting is created, and the on demand, it's just acting like a reverse proxy or a middleware to make these requests. And also the HTTPS endpoint receives headers with current user, meeting, etc. So basically, when BBB plugin server makes the request, it sends headers prefixed with XBBB. So it says, okay, it's XBBB user ID, XBBB role, XBBB meeting ID. So the third-party application knows who triggered this call. So this is really useful. So the architecture is basically, we have the third-party application like Greenlight, Moodle, or something like that. It makes a call to BBB API, creating a meeting. And afterwards, a browser joins the meeting. And all the plugin needs to do is plug in API.get data and pass the data source name. So BBB server knows that this data source is linked with that metadata parameter, and then it's mapped to a URL. And it makes the HTTPS request, passing the request headers. The external URL processes this information and sends data back to the plugin server that sends data back to the browser. So this is the flow. And the next step is implement this thing, because this is only in our minds for now, because we could not prototype it. But anyways, the idea is really well specified. We made several meetings about it, and we are now we know what to do. So this is going to happen in the upcoming weeks. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I don't have a fancy demo or presentation. I'm just gonna talk about some of the stuff that we've been working since the plugin SDK started being developed, and a lot of the stuff that we tried to implement with the plugin SDK helped us develop features into the SDK. And so this week has been a lot of back and forth on what we need on the SDK, how we're going to implement it. And so it's not super shiny, but I'm going to tell about the plugins that we want to implement and kind of the progress on each of them. And these, all of these kind of existed as features before 3.0 in our private fork of BigBlueButton. And the idea is that we want to do all of this stuff without having to fork the project. So this one that we call generic link is used to share websites like, for example, Google Docs, and everyone can see the website on the presentation. This is pretty much complete. Now that everything changed on the plugin SDK, we will have to adapt it, but this is pretty much done. We have the tour plugin, which just shows different parts of the interface and has a little tutorial for each one of them, which can help new users. We have the media pop-out, which is a button that that will show up on screen share in every camera, and you can use it as a pip, but it supports all browsers, and you can actually get it as a window and then use it however you like, something that we use on our project quite frequently. Chat mentions, which is using ad mentions on the chat. This is actually going to core, I guess, now that chat is getting a lot more features. but we were implementing it. Questions, which is actually present on 2.7, is something that we ported to 2.7. But part of the effort of doing this is actually taking stuff out or that maybe won't be used by every user, so we can get the core lighter, and we can have users customize the user experience based on what they actually need. Streaming, which is actually something that we have in our private fork. And the idea is that we had to kind of heavily modify parts of the core to make it work seamlessly. And we want to have this as a plugin and as a server application. So we will use lots of the stuff that Tiago was talking about before. And we actually have something that we call external audio player, which is a version of the video player that only plays audio, so you don't need the presentation area. And the idea is to port this and also port the external video player to plugin format. So again, it won't, if a customer doesn't want video player, it won't actually be a part of the core. If they want, it can be a plugin. So it's more useful that way. And so we've done lots of work on this week, and we've helped with the developing of the SDK as well because of it. And since I'm here, the Attila and Artur from our team, they have been working on all around here, but also on the new designs and also optimizations on chat and layouts and stuff. We mostly don't have any shiny stuff to show, but that's not true because we have Paulo. But this is most of the work that we've been doing. Paulo is the shiniest of all. But that's it. Plugins, lots of work on plugins. We are trying to push the SDK to the limit with this.
Really good.
Agora a próxima linha ele compartilha de novo. Ok. Individual feedback. Okay. Okay, so we was discussing about how nice would be if a teacher could see all the student screens and decide to make a individual feedback session with this student. Because one case that Tainan described is you have 12 students, you're seeing the screen of all students at the same time, and you could focus one screen and make it visible to all users in focus. So this is nice, but sometimes you can be monitoring the students and you can say, okay, I want to give him a feedback, but I don't want the other students to listen what I'm talking or to see what I'm going to show. It's just more like an individual feedback to not expose the student or something like that. So we explored how to develop it. And yeah, you can pass this part. Okay, no, go back. Yeah, it's a short presentation. So go back. Because this is, yeah. So what happens behind there, because I'm going to show you how, because this plugin is actually created already, but what happens when you click in this individual feedback session is that a new window opens for the both users, both the teacher and the selected student, and it says, okay, there is a individual feedback session to be started. Select the devices which you want to share. This step can be omitted in the future because if the student is sharing a webcam and audio and the instructor joins the individual feedback, it's okay to keep the same devices shared because it's not going to share anything additional. So I believe we can simplify this. But for development speed, it was easier to make the user select all the devices. And when you click start, you enter in the away mode, which means that your audio and your video are muted in the main room. So your camera is, the image of your camera is not transmitted anymore, and the voice of your microphone is not transmitted anymore as well. And a direct WebRTC session is started between the two browsers. So this is what's happening in the screenshots I'm going to show you. So here, I was demonstrating it with a webcam, but in the way Tainan implemented the multiple screen share, the multiple screen shares are the same thing as a webcam. So the drop down will show in a screen share as well. And here it's written start individual feedback. So when we click, this is the instructor's screen. So the instructor, it's me. We check, okay, I want to share the microphone, I want to share my camera. And this is the student screen. So a student can say, okay, I want to share the microphone, the camera, and my screen. So when they start the session, okay, so this is the instructor screen. It's seeing the screen share of the student and the webcam of student. And this is in a, it's not in a new tab like a breakout. It's just a floating window in BigBlueButton. So BigBlueButton is still there. It's pretty convenient because when you close, there is a close button here. So when you click close, you get back to the main room and you exit the away mode. So this way, it's very fluid. You can initiate a session with one student, then with another student, and the other student somehow knows that you are busy because you are shown as away in the main room. So they know you're doing something else. It's good as well. So yeah, I think that's it. That's it.
Nice.
I think the 8 will not have that one.
Yes, we already did it. So Kert, are you there?
I am.
Oh, it's unmuted here, I guess.
Oh no, his audio's coming up. Oh yeah, got the unmute the
Yep,
audio.
I'm here.
All right, perfect.
I just need a presenter so I can share my screen. All right. So this week, we were basically looking into what we could do with the new version of tldraw. It looks like they have updated their license so that we can basically use it under a stipulation. So if you can see my screen here, they basically allow you to use the latest version with all the bells and whistles, so long as you display their sort of watermark. So the idea was to see how much work it would take to get the new version into 3.0, just to swap it out to see what would break, basically, and to basically gauge what that watermark would look like, how intrusive it would be, things like that. So I did get it in, and it's working pretty much identical. It looks identical to what we have now. But there is one situation where the watermark is a little bit much. So I was wondering if we would be able to change it in any way. But if we actually go through the conditions, it does say that you can't alter it at all. So I'm not sure if Steve would have any flexibility around that. But as of right now, this is what it looks like. So if you can see on my screen here, it's pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference now is we have this watermark in the bottom corner. It's sort of faded a little, but the problem is you can draw over it and you can start drawing in it and it'll be okay. But there's two sort of things. If you were to click on it, it would open up a new window and take you directly to tldraw. And I don't know if we're allowed to disable that functionality. But there is one good thing about the watermark. If Steve would allow us to use the sort of second version of it, the one you're seeing right now is what we would see if you were in a larger screen. So they do also have a mobile setting as well. But right now it's just tied to the screen size. So if I was to reduce the screen size a little, you'll notice that the watermark is still there, but now it's like a little tldraw word at the corner, which is a lot better for us if we actually were going to upgrade and use this. But the main thing with the sort of upgrades that they did with the 3.0 that we're taking advantage of in this, because if you notice, the zoom works a lot better, and the bounding of the slide itself is a lot better because all of that's being handled now by tldraw internally. They've basically revamped a lot of the APIs to extend the functionality and just make everything a lot more modular. So in this particular branch, what we're taking advantage of is the new camera options that tldraw provides. In the previous one that we have in our fork, you only have 3 options that you can change or affect with the camera, and that's the X and Y position and the zoom level. Outside of that, we have no control over what we can do with the camera. But in the newest version, they give us a lot of different features. So all of the code that we currently have for handling the wheel zoom, that can all be removed because they basically allow us to set that functionality through the camera API now. So now instead of holding control to zoom, I can just zoom with the mouse wheel and lock everything in place. So it makes it a lot easier for us to sort of control the camera essentially, making sure that it has whatever bounds that we set for the slide, basically. So any bounds that you set here, no matter how zoomed in you are, it won't allow you to zoom out or pan past the slide itself, like we can see here. There is one caveat with this though. This API still does have a few bugs in it. So at the moment, if we want to use it, we have to send this entire object, missing nothing. If anything's missing from this object, it'll basically crash and tell you that it's missing information. So because of this, whenever we resize the screen sizes, these initial zooms have a little effect that we don't want. So this is one thing that we're going to have to wait for them to fix if we go forward with using it. But outside of that, everything else is pretty much identical. The only thing that's really changed for them are the backend sort of APIs and the events. Previously, they used to have a giant, what they called a fire hose that essentially listened to any updates that happened in the tldraw store. They've broken those out so that there's now listeners for specific things. So the camera has its own manager and it handles only camera functions. And now there's shape listeners that only handle shape updates. They basically just modularized everything to make it incredibly easy for us to control the camera and take tldraw from being an infinite canvas to basically a restricted one. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's essentially identical, works the exact same, and the performance might be a little bit better because it doesn't update as much as the one that we currently have. The only other caveat with this was if we were to switch, we would also have to fork this in order to get the poll code that we merged into our fork working for the recording. But outside of that, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so I was going to just give a quick update on how the integration with LiveKit and BigBlueButton is going and what was achieved in this hack week. So last summit, I worked a bit on refurbishing the code that we had from Berlin Summit, and then doing the server-side glue code that we did not do in the Berlin Summit, and then worked with Timo from Element on the Matrix integration. And since then, so this hack week, I focused on a bunch of things, but one of them was verifying that we could achieve feature completeness with LiveKit, which is something that I did not test before. So I managed to actually implement a dial integration with LiveKit solely, so we can rule free switch out of the equation. So LiveKit allows you to terminate SIP with trunking, and they even allow you to deploy a LiveKit SIP endpoint they use to actually contact SIP trunks, etc. I've implemented the orchestration regarding that in WebRTC SFU and should be working more or less for now. Configuration will be a bit different from how FreeSwitch does, but conceptually it's going to be pretty much the same. So recording was another thing that we were not sure yet. So LiveKit exposes an application called Egress, and what I did this hack week was actually implementing integration with the Egress application. SFU is also the orchestrator here, and so Egress does track recording, which is pretty much what we already do for cameras and screen sharing today, and I implemented that. So now we are recording all media tracks in LiveKit. The difference is that audio is also track recording. So we'll have to extend the recording and processing scripts later on to handle that, but it's nothing that we do not already do with cameras, so it should be straightforward. And then the other piece is live transcription that currently we do with a modified build of FreeSwitch. I also made, with the help of Lucas, I was also able to do a proof of concept regarding that, also using LiveKit Egress. So I am able to extract audio streams from LiveKit, send in those raw streams to a WebSocket server, and then it should behave more or less equally in the BBB transcription controller compared to what we do nowadays with Gadia, etc. So it's going to be feature complete, which is good. This is a modified version of the architecture that we had on last summit. So on few new pieces, LiveKit SIP, which is the application which does SIP termination, LiveKit Egress, which is the recorder, which will tentatively replace our own Golang recorder if it works properly. And then just a summary of what I mentioned before, of what was achieved this week. And there's a pull request opened with an audio bridge. The pull request is still in flux. There's a pending list of stuff that I will amend in the next couple of days. But the initial version is looking good. Again, it's all configurable. There are a bunch of create parameters and BBY parameters that allow you to choose which WebRTC bridge you will use per meeting. So no production stuff is sacrificed, and any of the media modes can be controlled by their own. So we can use LiveKit for cameras and MediaSoup for audio if audio is not stable yet. So a quick demo, share my screen. Fred helped me setting a server, which I've installed custom built packages with the changes I just mentioned. Yeah, thanks, Fred. What I will do here is just create a meeting, join with my audio and camera, and then we have a set of stress testing scripts that we can run at the server side, which is something new as well. Which we can arbitrarily inject audio and video streams there, and that's what I will do. Yeah, so this is using fully LiveKit, and then I can go to the server here. Of course, the stress testing script needs the meeting ID, so I'll fetch it here. Oops, not the right one. Yeah. And now that I'm feeling a bit courageous, I will put like 25 video streams. And then something that we've been discussing this week is that all of this is using simulcast and single peer transports. And the cool thing with LiveKit is that since it implements simulcast, it also handles a bunch of things automatically. For instance, viewport sizes are taken into account. So here we have a simulcast where it's a full HD stream and a 360p stream. If I change viewport size here, there's automatic pagination, there's automatic simulcast layer change, so now it's using 360p. And CPU, I can also show how it's varying CPU wise. From the load test we've done recently, when taking FreeSwitch into account, LiveKit is actually cheaper At worst case scenario, we are even, but it's generally cheaper. So here it's using half a core for 25 cameras. Yeah, and that's it. I will not take too much.
And then Paulo, once this merges in, it'll be behind a feature flag?
Yes, so behind a feature flag, 2 ways to set it. It will probably documented later, but 2 ways, create parameters, so permitting. And so 3 parameters, camera bridge, screen share bridge, and full audio bridge. Or just go to BigBlueButton, BB web and set it for the whole server.
Hello guys, this is like an hybrid presentation. Tyler is online also. Feel free to interrupt and say everything that you want to talk, Tyler. First of all, I'm just going to do like a recap. But we would like to thank you, NP, which is our client, which is supporting us in this project. Just take a picture. Okay. So previously, on the last BBB Balneário Camboriú Summit, what our team were doing, we shared some of our studies. We have done a lot of research with deep interview users. We have a hardcore use of other players such as Google Meet, Teams, and Whereby, and other kind of softwares to get insights, to see how they communicate the things. And then we start to have some ideas of what we would like to have in the future of the BBB. So we start by drawing some ideas on paper. We have a lot of insights and try to give more, to group things that have the same ideas and context, so that will improve the discoverability of the tools inside the BBB, because one of the pain points that we heard a lot of our customers is that they really like the product, but sometimes they could not find some tools. So the idea is to improve the discoverability. And then at the end of the last summit, we draw like the first idea of what we would like for the new UI, which is something like this, less information on the screen, but better organized. So between the summits, what we have done, we did interactive prototype in Figma. So it's very close that what we would like to have in the future. So we put some actions and buttons and things like that. And with this prototype, we applied users test to users. So we write down a self-guide where the user can read and try to replicate the action that was written in the forms with the prototype. And at the end, we have almost 100 tests. We did also a focus group with students and a teacher, which was very nice because the teacher was like an expert using tools for education. During the pandemic, she was like a reference in the university, and the students were the design students doing a lecture of digital interface. So they give us a lot of feedback about usability also, which was very nice. Here's some images of what we used. Here is the form that we share with the people who were in the test, and the prototype that we have in Figma. Some photos of that experience. Here is the students and the teacher. Here is the test applied during an educational event. So we have a lot of response from that. And this gives us a lot of feedback and insights to improve what we have today and what we would like to in the future. Here's some results. So when we see the green dots, it's the features or experience that were very great. So we have like a very high grade, for example, almost 100 points. And the
orange one is that one that could that we see the opportunity to improve, and that's where we focus during the summit and during our work is to improve this experience. I share the feedbacks with Tyler, and we start to prototype some new solutions. So Tyler, if you want to share your screen or going past the slide, feel free to interrupt.
Yeah, I can jump in, share my screen. Okay, so I love these Figma jam files because what'll be great is that over time we'll be able to kind of come back to it and kind of have a historical experience about some stuff that we worked on. So kind of to touch on what Bruno said, along with that, one of the objectives we had was, is there anything UI related that we could kind of sneak into the 3.0 or in the upcoming release? So a few things based on kind of customer feedback we're looking to enhance is one of the items here where today we have kind of one approach we took was consolidate the reactions experience into kind of a centralized location that stored a few different functionality. But based on kind of the feedback from the MConf group, and this week we were actually able to talk to a Blindside Networks client around the feedback of the prototype that was shared, and we got similar thoughts and walked them through this stuff here. So it's fun to also during these hack weeks have customers participate as well, and it was really fun to see that and talk to a customer this week. But one of the things we're looking to move forward with is actually improve this experience by having two isolated buttons. So reactions would be isolated to its own action, and then raise hand would be its own. So similar to kind of the prototype that we saw with the MConf team design. So that's a major update, customer feedback, user feedback, and integrated into our product. Away needs to live somewhere. Of course, there's some enhancements that have been done with the users list. So one of the locations, it's a short-term location. We have a larger strategy that we'll get to in the upcoming UI, but placing the away experience in the top right-hand corner. And then also kind of trying to inch our way towards this new design is looking at improving some of the button experiences within the product. So again, giving our customers and users with 3.0 some subtle updates. I wish it was more, but it's okay. Some subtle updates that things are new in the interface. And one of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten, throughout the years is just these buttons looking a little disabled. So how can we improve that? So one small idea would be just to make them white and then inch towards that goal of the new UI. Bruno, I know there's some other things that we've talked about. We had chat. We talked a lot about chat functionality, styles of chat. Do you want me to pass it off to someone else, or do you want me to continue kind of talking about this?
You can show the UI because this one is like an improvement of what Guy showed before.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem. So a few other things we touched on too. I'll get to the chat, but some of the kind of subtle UI updates, exploring some ideas of how we can, take the long-term strategy of our chat and put it into some UI. We explored, had a really good conversations around like what does iconography mean in BigBlueButton. It's a simple but effective way of improving the UI. So we looked at like how do you effectively integrate material design, but also how does that scale out to other third-party products that we use in the system. So we really want to be mindful of if we are changing things that it's a consistent UI across the board. Other subtle updates, and we'll get the chat as well, was this is not 3.0. I know there's some updates that refine this, but one of the ideas is, can we just make some subtle color changes and structures as well. So making it a bit more of an inviting experience. Through our user testing efforts though, or our customer conversations this week, there is even a bigger need of wanting this welcome message to actually be in a different location. So it's so fun to be able to say, okay, well, we think, this is a bit of a small update from a style perspective, but when you bring users and customers into the place and their needs, you have a really, really good conversation. So in this case here, there was just the want to have, how do you take this experience? And this is not going to be in 3.0. It's just, again, helping us and support us in the long-term vision is I'm someone in a session and I want to be able to quickly send a link, a guest invite to a user. And today, if you close out the welcome message, it's a bit of it's several steps to get there. And the context of where this live is not a common context for where people would kind of assume this would live. So I know some of the MConf team explored some stuff, and I pulled out an old design and kind of iterated on a little bit. But at some point in the future, it'd be awesome to be able to click just in the BigBlueButton client right now. It says Hack Week. Click that and just have like a little popover to have some additional, a centralized location of your session. So fun little experiment there. Again, very small experiments for this week. Looking at small ways of improving the join, the initial modal experience. So still playing around with that, but how do we have something in the UI, improve it slightly, but still get to where we want to go in the future with our panel here. And then lastly, we were tasked, at the beginning of the week, and you saw the press. Wasn't here. I'll have to watch the recordings for it. I was at an appointment, but the chat experience, I think Tiago said it well, where 3.0 chat or 3.0 plus chat just needs to have what the expected behavior is on chats. We live in a world where we use our mobile phones to interact with people through chat with various platforms. Most of our jobs these days, we're familiar with the way how chat should work, and the BigBlueButton clients should really support that. And we get a lot of feedback where a teacher message says, say, I made a mistake. I'm a human person and made a mistake with the message that I sent. I want to be able to edit it. But right now, you actually have to clear the entire chat. Students put in appropriate messages. They have to clear the historical chat and stuff like that, right? So it's just like, it's those things that led us down to this exploration. So I put together a fun couple of concepts. We work with we work together as a team to kind of iterate that as well. So a variety of different designs that we can share here, but just exploration around different hover speed experiences, what that look like. You can see here too, the integration of those material icons within that experience. Really liked where we've built out kind of the reply experience as well, but also just, it's subtle but impactful, even the message experience, how this feels like a contained object where you can send a message, you have emojis, it feels really balanced in the interface. Example of the standardized emoji picker, so clicking that here, clicking that. I know, is Julia on the call? I know I'm speaking more on her behalf here, so don't see her. No problem. Additional things here as well with the chat. What does the counter look like on messages? It's such a small thing. Like when you're in a classroom and you want to give a positive message to students and having this fun kind of clapping experience is really powerful for that type of gratification and feedback to that end user. And deleting a message as well, quite important. That way, if you're deleting a message, there's always that kind of standardized experience in products where you're really sure you want to delete this. So informing and providing feedback to those users. So a lot of really fun exploratory stuff. We even went back deep into some older designs and talked about the users list. Like, what does this mean in the new client? What is bringing in the activity information, et cetera. So even though I wasn't there, Bruno told me that I have to go to the next one in person. So we had a really, really fun week, and Bruno, I'll pass it off to you to kind of wrap things up there.
Just let me see if we have more slides than we have done. Can somebody give me the presentation, please? Presentation. Anton, could you please give me the presenter, please? Yep. Okay. Here's just a resume of what Tyler already said. Here is something that we hear from our users, that because 2 steps to raise the hand is a little bit stressful. So try to reduce the number of the clicks. Here is something that Atla is working on. In the future, we want to have like a sidebar more clean and easy to use. So we are doing like a different version, because today we need to drag and drop the bar to minimize or hide. So the idea here is to have something like this. So you, by one click, you can minimize or expand the bar or hide. Here, another feedback that we heard during the test. The users thought the outline icons is like forbidden to use. So given a color gives the impression that it's a variable. So that's one it's a small adjustment that gives a lot of importance for the user. Here is the chat idea using the iconography, just like other applications using messages, for example, WhatsApp. It's easy to understand and easy to use. Here's some designs that the design team are doing, updating the visual from the old interface to the new interface using the color scheme, design system, icons, and things like that. This is an example of the timer. Touch mouses are terrible in this situation. Here the example using the polls. Here's some studies that we are doing in mobile version. We also using the sidebar example here. Tyler already gave us a feedback that which is very nice to have like a sidebar like this, because when you use your tablet in landscape, this will be very helpful for the teachers, because it's easy to use. And here's some ideas that we drafted during the summit about how to improve the user list, which is something that we want to do in the new UI. So have shortcuts right beside the name of the user, because we have a lot of actions that today we need to have like 2 clicks. For example, open the panel, then select the action. Here we're going to have like a shortcut for start private chat, mute and mute, lock camera, give whiteboard access, raise hand, and then more options to have like administration process, like turn moderator, turn viewer, or remove user, see the connection stats of the user. And other things that we start thinking, but we don't have anything talked to the dev guys to see if it's possible. For example, status. If you change your status from online to away, your camera and mic turn off automatically, because I have a bad experience to go away and forgot to turn off the microphone. And it's something that could be helpful if you're in a meeting and you need to open a door for a neighbor or something like that. Like a focus mode also, when you turn on your focus mode, you only listen to the moderator. We have a client, for example, that when they apply tests, they need to have the camera and mic turned on, but sometimes they hear other students. It's not nice. So the idea is just to listen to the moderator, so you can get focus and listen if the moderator says you have only 5 minutes and things like that. but something that we just started thinking this week and don't have any idea where to go, but it's something that could be nice. And we still keep working on the new layouts for the new interface. We have like some visual improvements. And that's it, guys. Thank you. Tyler, if you want to say something, feel free.
Nothing much more to add. I mean, I think, like I say all the time, it's just so great to see designers contributing to this project. And I think my favorite thing overall was really capturing user and customer feedback and feeding it into our product. So, and testing it back with them. So it's a really great experience, and love to see everything that's been contributed so far, and excited for this next phase of the product. So, not next summit, but at a summit in 2025, I think we'll be using a new, or hopefully new, testing out some new versions of BBB. So excited for that.
All right, really good work, guys. Okay, so I thought a nice way to end is, why not leave your camera on, and why don't we all just come up in the front, and we'll just wave goodbye to everybody who's there online who shared it. So Bruno, if you want to just leave your camera. You can... We're gonna have to get a bit close.
Ela vai confundir a parede que eu tirei a foto. Acho que o Augusto pode se agachar. Agora cada um de pé. Acho que você tem que ficar atrás, ou agachado.
Vou me abaixar aqui.
A gente que é muito alto, né, Gustavo?
Peraí, o Bruno, tu não vai sair assim, né?
Ah, tá, vai ter o logo ali atrás. Não, não é atrás.
So here we're gonna go make it.
Tô me sentindo na igreja quando a gente velhava lá e, sabe? Pois é. O cara ficava lá, não vai acabar nunca, né? Pois é.
Só a festa do Bruno na frente da câmera.
Ai.
Isso, Tiago.
Aí.
Meu Deus.
All right, we got to come close. We got to get together. Bring it in, guys and gals.
Qual câmera o olho?
A boca tá bem no seu rosto.
Yeah. Am I in front?
Ai, vou tirar
That's
isso.
funny. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Ligar o projetor?
There we go. Hello?
Ok.
A risada dela.
Oh, my goodness. All right, good work, guys. All right, thanks for everyone who joined. We'll see you at the next summit.
O grande